This is Just Saying, episode 18, and welcome everybody. Good to have you all here. Just checking that my mic is live, which it is, and then if we could run through from the top, starting at Bromeo. Is your mic live and can everybody hear you?
I certainly hope so, Greybeard. And Yoshi, if you're in the chat there, tell us exactly how little of me you can hear.
Sean?
Well, I'm also hoping so. It's a bit sad when you're left in the corner and you can't say anything.
And then finally,
And there we go.
We got Happy Meal. We got Happy Meal on the podcast, and now we got no signal. What does that mean, Happy Meal?
Oh my god!
Okay, so I'm here. I am here, but I think my camera's overheating. So, you know.
All right.
That's crazy.
But I'm here.
So Happy Meal is here. Happy No Signal is here. So
what's going on?
we'll see how we. Anyway, he may or may not solve that. We'll see how we go. But we will.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. He back. So I think this is our third or fourth time trying to get Happy Meal. So well done. We're glad to have you, Happy Meal. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, thanks for having me. Apologies that it took a couple weeks to get me here. Factors outside of my control.
But
I'm here.
You are here. The persistence has paid off, and I guess I should say hello to chat, Ashy Pager, and I don't know if that name is Enrique O'Neill, or if it's Enrico Nell, or if it's Henry Connell, but whichever way it is, hello and welcome. Nobody was here. Rumble Truck is here. Yoshi, of course, is here. Hello, guys. So, of course, there is a lot to talk about, and we're going to get to that ASAP. But I thought the first thing we should talk about is Happy Meal. Happy Meal, Happy Org, and his camera's overheated again, but we know he's here. So, Happy Meal, you're kind of in semi-retirement now.
Yeah. Apologies for my camera.
Don't worry about it.
Semi-retirement. Yeah, it's a sensitive spot I'm in currently. That's all I can say.
Can you tell us anything about what you're doing?
The specifics, I think, well, when the time is right, it will reveal itself. But as for what I'm doing, I'm very much going to be involved. I'm staying in the game. The game is not something I'm leaving, but my responsibilities as a player are becoming less and less. I can't say for sure I'm gonna stop playing. I mean, but for the foreseeable future, I think playing will be on the back seat, and I have big goals, big things to achieve.
So okay, so I mean, I have a pretty solid idea of what you're now doing and what's going on, but when is this all going to become public? Because I feel like it's going to be one of those things. By the time it'll be like Decimate Gaming's announcement of their roster. It was like, we're happy to announce, and great announcement. So I kind of feel like everybody's going to know what's what. So when are we getting an announcement?
Soon. The thing is, like, it's all on me. My camera's died again. I honestly think it's overheating. I'll fix it now, but let me just let me just say that it's all on me at this point. Like, to get the announcement out, to explain what's happening and what my plans for the future. That's on me, and I would like it soon. Realistically, before the end of the month would be great. But like, let's just say that it's a priority of mine to get this. Because I think it's a big deal, at least for me. I think I've got to honor if I am stopping playing. If I'm going to stop playing, I think I have to honor that's kind of, I have to say goodbye in like a real positive way, a real meaningful way. Because not because of because I want to, or because I think it's necessary, just because I honor that to the game at the very least.
Man, right. You should get a degree in tiptoeing, because that was some quality work there. I mean, not giving anything away, but I do think that's cool. Whether or not you are allegedly giving back to the game or not, or retiring or not.
Yes, it's big news. It's big things are coming, and I'm not leaving, but I'm also playing is it's going to become a small part of what I'm looking at doing. So I think it's I can't say too much.
I
All
can
right.
see Sean connecting those dots. They're very close together at this point, I'm sure.
Okay, well, thanks for that. We almost got information. All right, and
Cool. I'm gonna go fix my camera. I'll be back in like 1 second. Does anyone...
okay,
But
fine.
yeah, I'm here.
You go do that, and you let us know when you're back and ready and sorted and settled, and we'll move on to the next topic. I mean, we know for sure that he's the Cosmico sub, because that's all over StartDGG and Liquipedia and stuff. So we know he's at least doing that. And the only solid bit of information we got is that he's not leaving the game. So we can all take a lot of heart in that.
And he's also not leaving.
Not leaving, yeah. So there's a lot going on. Gentlemen, the pain is here. We've spent the last year going through the grief curve or the change curve of denial and anger and frustration and all of that. But I think we eventually came to accept that when it comes to EU playing in SSA, it is here. At least I got to the point where I accepted that we're going to have 2 to 3 seasons of pain. And despite preparing myself and knowing that it was coming, it doesn't make the actual arrival of the pain any less cuck. And we had that yesterday with the Maestros, the Spanish team, and Spanish and one German, I think, winning the first regional and winning it in emphatic style. So, Sean, let's start with you. Your immediate thoughts, and we're going to break down the whole regional. We're going to get into that, but let's start at the end and work back.
You know, I thought about it quite a bit, and I know everybody's like, oh, Sean's the devil's advocate. Sean sees it a different way or argues different opinions and shit like that. But I agree with you in a certain sense, Grapier.
Mm-hmm.
I have kind of accepted the fact that they're here to stay, and we can't get rid of them no matter how much we complain. But I mean, there's only so much complaining can do until you actually figure out that you need to buckle down and get back to work, and then, you know, get that bread at the end of the day. So, sure, we can be upset. Sure, we can be mad that there's EU invaders come to take our money or whatever reason that they're doing this whole nonsense for, even if they said that they're going to go through each region and move on to the next small minor region or whatever how their decision was last year. But now we've got VK Salen's team back, and we have another few contestants. They're here as well, and it's becoming like a mini EU, and it's cool. But I want to know what our SSA teams are going to do to improve, to get better, to catch up to these teams, to like we were talking before we started this, and I'm not trying to steal anyone's idea, but Limitless being the first boss, how they're going to beat Limitless, how they're going to beat these EU teams. So I suppose I'm like excited to see what will happen in the future.
Bromeo?
Okay, so let's preface this with the feeling that we had leading up to this event. We've had plenty of time to complain. We've had plenty of time to mourn, because guarantee you that's all we've done for months. So we're way past that point of going, oh no, EU invaders. I want to look at you know, some very direct positives that have come out of this weekend. If you look at the top 8, you've got Genesix, Cosmico, Limitless there. That is more than what we could have hoped for this time last season. Because at that very point, we were just happy that Limitless was there. So it's very easy to say, oh no, look at these Spaniards coming into our region and, you know, taking all of our money. But just like Sean had said, we've often looked at Limitless as being this pioneer, the top, the cream of the SSA crop, and they have been for many a season. But I want to take a look at the Haibos, at the Cosmicos, the teams who are putting in the graft and closing the gap, because like Sean said, Limitless used to be the final boss. Now they're just the first boss. They are proving that they are not at the summit anymore, because they are a new king of the hill, so to speak. So yes, we're measuring SSA success against Limitless, which is fair because that's the only point of comparison that we've ever had. But, and Greybeard, I know you were talking about this pre-show, but I do think that perspectives need to start changing, that they aren't the only people we should be looking at in terms of success. Success isn't winning the main event because, you know, that is only one measure of success. If we compare this regional against the last, we're doing better. And that's purely numbers based. And I would argue in one of the hardest regionals any SSA player has ever had to compete in. So I'm not depressed at all. I'm not sad because overall, the gameplay that I saw over this last weekend has given me a lot of hope for the future.
Is Happy Meal back yet? No, he's not. Okay, because I definitely want to get his feedback, but we'll do that when he's sorted himself out and settled. Yes, everything you guys have said, I think, is true, and I want to pick on the highlights, and we're going to do that as we go through, as we break down, as we break down the weekend. But overall, going back to the qualifier last weekend, I was immensely impressed at the overall improvement. There are a greater number of people, players and teams sort of pushing to get in, and a number of them fell short, and I know they were all desperately disappointed, but the fact is, watching them, I mean, there were teams playing, players playing who I know, who in my mind were kind of okay players who performed magnificently, and now getting higher level of experience are going to push forward and hopefully upward. And we'll talk a bit more later about the coaches that are coming in. There's a couple of these our bubble teams who have picked up wonderful coaches that I think is gonna make a massive difference to the performances going forward. And I think just at the outset here, I'd like to highlight, because I actually made a list of the teams that I'm pretty excited about. So the teams that are there and thereabout that can get themselves through a qualifier, we have Decimate, and that's a team that absolutely will have felt they should have made the last 16 or the last 8, and they fell short. Haibo, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about them. They are an absolute delight and a highlight. Death Cloud Esports, Ox Gaming, Rise Esports, a team that surprised me enormously. White Rabbit Gaming, Goated Baguette, Pony no Jitsu, Bird, and Unity. And of all those teams I've just listed, only I think 7 or 8 are sort of old school players, guys who've been around for years. The rest contain and are made up of new players coming through. Players like Zany, Devour, Ravi, Jeff, Max, Scraffy, Jerome, Tweak, Serenity, Rage, Heatsy, Galaxy, Willen, T-Shao, Eagle. These are absolutely names and players who are grinding and getting better by the event. So that for me was a massive positive. So but it's still, I cast the grand final, and it was something I debated on whether I wanted to or not, because I was enormously grateful the last regional of last season that I wasn't involved in the casting, because that I was so broken about the whole thing. And I think I did a really good job of being absolutely biased in my overall opinions and what I wanted, but at the same time being professional and not breaking down and losing my shit during the cast. so I feel like I took a step forward in that direction. So with that said, I think we can go forward now and
hold on.
Yes.
Before we go forward, but then I also think this was only the first one, right?
Yes.
The first weekend.
Yes.
And thinking back on previous RLCS seasons, how many of these teams that have now like come up, or if they're SSA, for instance, how many of these teams that show up and make it into, let's say, the top 8 or the top 16, how of them stay consistent going throughout the season?
Yes.
So I want to know how many of these teams are actually going to remain consistent and keep improving, or they're going to just have like a one-hit wonder in the one weekend and then fall off after that.
And those questions start to get answered over the next two regionals, and then further than that, going into the second major, and it is a very real question, and consistency was an issue for SSA this past weekend, for Cosmico and for Genesix, who are two teams that are on the cusp of pushing to the next level, of arriving in the next level. But I feel like it's almost, there's more of a mental barrier than a technical barrier they've got to get through, because they are almost there. But living in an almost world is kind of rough. You know, you gotta push through those barriers. Looking at the Open, and last weekend we did break down the qualifier and who almost made it, and who the 16 were that went through to play in the GSL bracket on Friday. So let's have a look at that GSL bracket. And as a reminder, GSL stands for Global StarCraft League, and it's called GSL because it was StarCraft that implemented this the system for, well, whatever, in a tournament. And in fact, and although it's listed as an upper and lower bracket there, and that's a good way to represent it, it's effectively a mini Swiss bracket. You have to win 2 series and you qualify, or lose 2 series and hasta la vista, thanks for coming. So that's kind of how that worked. And the third series that's played is really for seeding. In the upper bracket final, the 2 teams playing there, that they've both already qualified, but one goes immediately one step further in the playoff bracket. So it looks like Happy Meal's almost with us, which is outstanding news.
I was going to say we replace him with like a Happy Meal box.
That would have been quality.
Well, so here was the upper bracket of Group A. Mustu Flak versus Haibo, 3-1. And I don't know why I doubted Haibo, but I thought, you know, it's a young roster, well, an almost young roster. 2 of them are very young. And I worked out yesterday that Ravi and Devour's age together equals skill steal, which is just magnificent. And but the hint of how well they were going to do was right there, taking a game off Mustu Flak. And they were a team that was pumped up a lot. I mean, they were... Everyone says in EU they're a top 16 team or a top 24 team. So a lot was said about them. Haibo went down, but they did take a game. I don't know. I mean, I partied all of this. I don't know if you guys got to see any of them.
You go.
Sorry. The first game, it was an OT with a 3-2 to Mustu Flak. But I do see that the third game, which is the game Haibo took off them, was a 4-1 scoreline. Which is impressive to see, especially against Mustu Flak, which seemed like quite a strong opponent, in my opinion.
I think, you know, we were very scared for Haibo here, but in fairness, a lot of those games were really close. And 3-1, that's what history were recorded as, but those were all very contested games. And I think I drew a lot of heart from this series because although they went down, they put in one hell of a showing. And that for me was the biggest takeaway from this is, sure, you didn't win it. And I mean, you know, Mustu Flak took Limitless to game 5. So if you can put a 3-1 against Mustu Flak and compare yourself that way, that is a very good result for a team that didn't exist last season.
Yeah. And then Happy Meal, I don't know how much of the weekend you watched and saw, or if it was very much tunnel visioned on Cosmico.
Obviously, I sub for Cosmico now, so it's important that I'm following the team, not just because I'm supporting the players, but also because if they need me, I need to be ready. So I was following them, but I mean, I had a look at the other games, and I was looking at the way the other teams were playing each other. But most of these teams I've seen play in a week, through the team that like Cosmico scrimming. I've seen a lot of the way this. So I've seen this is like not the first time I've seen these teams play.
Yes.
But obviously this is the first time that that we've seen them in competition. So I was around. I was paying attention, and especially like I paid very close attention to Cosmico's games, to the point where I was watching their replays even after we'd have to play, and I was just seeing what was going on. I think taking a step back as a player has really allowed me, like, giving me the capacity to just kind of, look at the game holistically instead of just as myself. I think that's it's a strength of mine, which I always knew, but I didn't realize like until my capacity opened up that I'm looking at the game without having to worry about actually playing it is. It's quite comfortable, to be honest. I like this position.
But then working off that insight of yours, are there any takeaways from this weekend with regards to other teams, not necessarily your own, that you've picked up that could be interesting, could be fun, could be concerning? Anything that you saw while you were watching your games that might be just fun to know?
I think the most important thing that I noticed was just the competitive, how close all the teams were to each other. The main event, looking at the main event, every team, every game was relatively close. I mean, even though some of the scorelines weren't so close, the actual gameplay was better. I mean, there was upsets all over the place. I mean, Chocoranilla, yeah. They beat us in the quals in last weekend. So, and I looked at the game and to say that like Cosmico, our team, didn't, they underperformed would be, I think, perhaps a little bit unfair to the performance of the enemy. I do think the win was in our hands, and I think winning was. I expected the win, and to be honest, if I was a player, I would have been upset with the result. But I don't think that takes away from the fact that was a genuinely good performance from the enemy, and that wasn't luck. I didn't luck into that. That's a very good sign as to what's happening everywhere else in the region.
Going through the rest of the bracket quick, Limitless did what was expected against Trifecta, beating them 3-1. Trifecta notably, though, taking a game. Ball Eater sweeping Chocoranilla, and then Dunno Chief against Decimate. And I don't know if anyone from Decimate is in chat, but I wouldn't mind thoughts on that, because I did think they could have done better there, or they had the opportunity to do better there. Skill still does say that Ravi was on 60 hertz, and but it's one of those situations that his monitor is very capable, but had it set to 60, which is ouch.
Rookie error.
Rookie error. And what's good about that? He'll never ever make that mistake again.
I hope not.
And then Limitless taking down Mustu Fluck in the upper semi-finals. And that was a grudge match because Mustu swept them in the Swiss during quals. So that was a good result, but a sweaty result, no pun intended, or perhaps fully intended. Limitless going forward, and Dunno Chief beating Ball Eater. And then Limitless sweeping Dunno Chief in the upper bracket final to secure their spot in the playoffs in whatever position it was, which we'll see in a moment. And then down in the lower bracket, Haibo beating Trifecta, and that's when I was starting to really pay attention, because that was something. And then, but even better, Haibo lose in Game 5 against Ball Eater, and they turned out to be a really, really good side. And man, it was close. I don't know what Skill still has to say about that, but it was, man, I nearly lost my mind because that would have secured them into the top 8, which would have been unreal. So they came incredibly close to being in the top 8.
And I mean, if you look at all of those results, they were incredibly hard fought, and they didn't miss out by much. So I think if you look at the final standings, I think what was the position they got put in? Let's have a look. Haibo finished in square at 9th.
Yeah.
So, that's rough because, that's $150 of additional prizing that they missed out on. But still, if you have a look at $750 for 9th place, that works out to what, 14,000 Rand?
Yeah.
and we need to look at what a scratch team has now earned 14 grand off one split. So
One
I
regional.
think, yeah,
On regional, not even the split yet.
yeah, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I think that they'll be aiming higher, and I think they deserve to get higher if they continue to put the graft in. But I think some congratulations need to be ordered, not commiserations.
Absolutely. They were absolutely the highlight of Friday for me, and with that kind of money, maybe Ravi and Devour will give up their day jobs. Not sure about Skill Steel, but yeah, we'll see.
Aren't they still in the school?
Possibly get a new
Of
one.
course they are.
Where you can just click the not 60 hertz setting.
Like,
Okay,
wait a
then-
minute, what do you mean?
And then we go to Group B, and this was interesting. Genesix beating Vanguard, a MENA team, a North African team, and that was a sweaty affair. But going through and beating them, but then getting swept down into the lower bracket by the Maestros. And then, we'll get to Cosmico. Hey with Riz beating PSV Eindhoven. Who cares about that? And then Cosmico, this Chris Colon team was pretty good. And I think the highlight there was Guns calling himself Small Intestine for that match.
I mean, it's great for the memes, but really, really bad for the casters who have to mentally remind themselves every time that this is in fact Guns, not Small Intestine.
I know the Cosmico team stream. Yeah, they were very aware there was not one slip up on that side, so they did okay there. And then Cosmico, Hey with Riz taking them to 5, and Happy Meal. Your thoughts on that, because Cosmico looked really. Is that the series where they were reversed?
With Riz, I didn't look at the entire order. I just watched first obviously I knew the results, and I was actually out of the house. So I wasn't. So I was watching the stream on my phone while I was out. So I didn't catch all the games, but I saw the win, which was critical, and I looked at the replays. But I don't know the order at which the games. I don't think they were reverse swept. Were they? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. But I know that the win was very important. It was a big win for us.
No, it was huge. I mean, that was a gargantuan win.
Yeah,
I mean,
it wasn't a reverse sweep.
It wasn't a reverse because they won
no,
that,
no.
and I'm being dumb but there was a reverse somewhere else. Maybe it was during Swiss, where it was like, what the hell? Why did they lose? I think it was during Swiss, so my bad there. And then going down 3-1 to Maestros, taking a game, which is more than Limitless did on Sunday. So there's something to be said for that. And then down in the lower bracket, and Daps just said something. Daps has made a point, and this is disregards us. He's talking about the tax, and I hope that the local players are getting proper tax advice, because there are forms that you can fill in where you don't pay the American tax.
The 30%.
And I don't know the ins and outs, but I've been paid out of the US, and I filled in an IRS form, and there was no tax taken. You just pay the local tax. So I just hope you guys are getting proper advice. Mega Boom, Daps, anybody making money out of Psionics, find out about those forms.
They take the 30% before they even pay you.
Yes, I know, but no. But there are forms you fill in with IRS that exempts you from that tax.
Oh, okay. So you have to. But the thing is, then the problem is, so Epic Games created an IRS tax profile on your behalf, which I have no idea how to access that information. So
Okay.
you somehow access that information and then go to the IRS and be like, look, this is what's happening. I'd prefer to be not. I believe, and as far as I'm aware, prize money in South Africa is not taxable.
Okay,
so
well,
that's positive. But if
all
I
I
knew this
know
long time
is if you are not resident in the United States, you should not be paying that tax. So anyway, I don't have the information.
Tax tutorial by Greybeard incoming within the week.
Yeah, and it's only going to cost you 30% of your prize money.
Yeah. I think that's a fair ask. One-time installment.
But someone needs to find out about that. But if you're not resident in the US, you don't pay their fucking tax. Excuse my language. Okay. Then moving on from that, so there we go. That was Friday night. And in the lower bracket, Hay with Riz and Genesix qualified, and that brought us to the weekend, which would be, it's here somewhere, I promise. It's on the left. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Here's the weekend's bracket. So in the upper quarterfinals, Limitless against Cosmico, and Cosmico looked sensational for 2 games. And then I'm not sure, I don't know if you've got a comment on that, Happy Meal. They really looked fantastic.
So, I will say this, and I mean this, as lightly as possible. Considering like I now look at the game, holistically without needing to play, it opens my eyes to like not just what our team is doing, just the enemy as well.
Of course.
And the gameplay from our team versus Limitless, it's like very different. The way we're playing the game versus the way Limitless are playing the game, it's not the same. Not necessarily good or bad, or it's just different. I mean, I have my own opinions on whether or not it's good or bad. I'm not going to make that statement because that's not necessary, but it's different. What I believe is happening there is that Cosmico, when playing well, they're relying on what most teams rely on, just like good solid intuition, and they're very kind of just good feels, like the game feels good, we're playing good, let's just keep it up. Whereas Limitless, as soon as they're not achieving what they're setting out to achieve, like they're making very practical and pragmatic adjustments like on the fly. Okay. And what that tells me is like simply that the team fundamentally is running at a more, I don't know, let's say structured maybe is a bit harsh to Cosmico, but maybe just a more, like they've been a team for a while. They have very good understanding as to what they're doing. So I personally believe that game, as much as it was close, I think Limitless still looked like the better team.
Okay.
I think Cosmico played well, don't get me wrong, and the results would suggest that. The games were close. There were some really brilliant moments from us, but Limitless, even this is, it's a classic case. Even when they're not looking great as a unit, they're still very effective. So it's always like, what you said in the beginning of the podcast, the final boss or whatever you said, and you just said the first boss. Yeah, like they're a solid team, and it's evident to me while watching. But I think we played well, and I think that's considering it's the first team, first like regional together, I think it's a positive performance, and the players should definitely be happy with it. But I think considering that the way we played, there's a lot of room for improvement. And while that's harsh to say, I think that also should motivate and excite the team.
There's a question in chat from Larson on who Hay with Riz are. Hay with Riz are Kaka, Ivan, and Revezi. Kaka and Ivan Ivan out of Spain, and Revezi out of the UK. Then going into that lower round, Ball Eater Genesix, and again Genesix as well looked fantastic for 2 games. In fact, if not mistaken, I think they won the first 2 games and then got taken down 4 in a row. Daps, you'll confirm that. And that for me, and with the Genesix crew in the chat, I'm hesitant to say, but it felt like a bit of a choke, and I don't know if I'm being overly harsh about that, or if Ball Eater just got their shit together and stormed out there. They certainly did.
It's looking like that, Greybeard. I mean, sorry, I'm cutting you off mid-sentence there. But
good.
Ball Eaters had a 3-1 win in the first game, and then Genesix came back 5-0 in the second. And then it kind of just went downhill from there. For a 2-1 win in the third game to Genesix, and then it was 5-2, 5-2, and then 5-1 thereafter to Ball Eaters.
And Declan in chat saying, low key, we choked hard. So there we go. Fair enough. But so this is my take on Genesix. Declan and Daps have made top 8 on a number of occasions. Friction has been all the way to top 2 in times gone past. So they're a team that are, I wouldn't say comfortable, but understand and know how to get to top 8. But now they've got to know and understand how to push forward. And really, I hope that they could. But they looked in parts in those opening 2 games. They were honestly sensational. They were an absolute joy to watch. And if that can be replicated over the course of 4 games during a best of 7, hey, they will win. But then the big result, Hayworth Riz sweeping Mustufluk, and there is still ongoing huge beef on Twitter between Mustufluk and Limitless, and oh my word. But I will say there was the most honest take came, I think it was from either Creamy or one of the others on the team, who said, he said, I'm not going to lie, I think the rule is stupid, but we don't grind the game like we did before, and so yeah, we want to come and play in SSA where it's easier, and
Don't hate the players at the yeah.
I appreciated that for the honesty of it.
Don't hate the players for like breaking the system. That's not their fault. That's the system's broken. It's gonna happen.
Yes, but they were swept. That was a surprise result. We were all expecting a tooth and nail fight there, but Hayworth Riz dealt with them pretty chop. And then going forward, Dunno Chief had a medical. One of their roster had a medical condition, so they forfeited. They couldn't field the roster, so they were out for Sunday. And then Cosmico against Ball Eater. This, again, there were 2 sensational games from Cosmico. And to be fair, and the point you've been making, Happy Meal, I do think Ball Eater stepped up and Cosmico struggled to respond to it. Your thoughts?
I think there is a very important consideration with all these European teams. A lot of them, firstly, aren't like seasoned, 3v3 players. That I mean, like no disrespect to them, but if you compare simply the players that are competing here versus here in South Africa, outside of talent, what we have here is, the players that are every SSA team that's made it in this bracket is a very seasoned, besides Haibo, so I'd say they're a bit of an anomaly, but every other team that's from South Africa or SSA in the bracket here, they're seasoned players, like players who like live, breathe, and like they just, that's what they do. They just compete at this level in an environment where it's not all about the individual talent. It's about the way the team works together, the pressure. So that gives us an advantage against talented players, but not necessarily seasoned 3v3 players. However, these players are good. So as soon as firstly, the ping is like a massive disadvantage. So like they need to get comfortable. And as soon as that happens, I mean, I watched it in scrims with Cosmico. Cosmico go out really hard in the scrims against like really good EU teams, and they'll take a little bit to adjust the EU team. But as soon as it happens, as soon as they understand they've downloaded their opponent, the game changes. It's no longer we're in the lead. The game, the tempo, quite literally is handed over to the enemy, the Europeans, and they don't give it back. And that's something like, it's not these players specifically. It's just like an inherent quality of having abundant talent, like everywhere. Like these guys play at rank, like in a ranked like environment, in the same like competitive level that we play in RLCS. Like it's just these players are on a different level in terms of just the way they the way they integrate and navigate the game. And what that means, as soon as they understand and get the tempo like under control, it's very difficult for us to take it back, because we just don't have we're not seasoned with teams and players in that regard. I mean, we have some, like Limitless is a very good example. They're like one of the they're like a benchmark for what an SSA team can achieve in terms of controlling and tempo. They're very good at it. But outside of that, even Cosmico, there's a lot of work to do in terms of like keeping the tempo and controlling the game. The Europeans, even if they're not seasoned players, like they just inherently have a better time of doing this. So as soon as they get adjusted, as soon as they like download the opponent, boom, the game becomes very difficult. And you can see it. Look, Genesix took 2 games, Cosmico took 2 games. It's present. I mean, like even like, okay, Limitless and Hayworth Riz, I mean, these players are good. Like it just takes time. It just takes time, and as soon as it happens, and that's the game now changes for them for the better. And that's when it becomes scary. That's like, and the thing is, the more these teams stay in, the more they play on the side ping, the quicker that process becomes. And it's at some point, and we saw it with I think it was Astronic who beat Limitless last season, with on 200 ping. That's an example of what a team can achieve if they play here long enough with the skill. They just need time, and that's the scary part.
Okay.
I've got a little point which I want to add on to it, because Greybeard, I'm not sure if you'll remember, but last season we did a little breakdown on Mobula versus Limitless, and we did a whole section, me and LDC, on that battle for mid boost. because that is such a key component in controlling the field. Because if you don't control mid boost, you don't control the field. You only control your own third, which means you're going to be on the defensive a lot for the most of the game. So naturally, I'm now more sensitive for when I'm watching these games, watching to see who's controlling mid boost, because he who controls mid boost controls the field and controls the tempo. And something I noticed Haibo doing incredibly well, and a lot of other SSA teams that they've picked it up, is that on rotations aggressively going for mid boost, because it's what a lot of the EU teams did last season, and it caught a lot of our teams with our pants down, is that all of our teams were playing on the defensive because they just couldn't get out. And, if I were to point one thing that I've seen a definite improvement in, is that one simple fact is that mid boost is no longer free.
Can
It is
I
now, hop in.
can I add on to what you're saying? Like that's a very very like important insight. So I'm gonna extend it though. I think the biggest difference between like a very developed team or player, it's not just the mid boost. It's entire midfield control. It's how they navigate and manipulate the space in the midfield. The boost helps, obviously. The boost in Rocket League is directly related to just how the game is played. With boost, with lots of boost, the game can be played faster. With more control, more risks can be taken. They're related, obviously, and that's a very valuable insight you've made. But I think just Europe in general, to compete there, you need to have very, very good midfield coverage. Not just with boost, without it. Your understanding of the midfield, what's coming in and out of the midfield, it's their player base, it's almost like I don't know why, but I've watched like NA gameplay and it's not the same. Their midfield, kind of, the way they manipulate the midfield is not the same as the way that the Europeans do it. I feel like the Europeans are the best in the world at it, but they don't even need to play the game in the two halves if they can control the midfield, and that's honestly where the game is made or break. Because if you allow the midfield, if you give the midfield up on purpose, which NA does sometimes, they have a really they're fighting an uphill battle. I mean, the midfield is so important. It's where the game pivots around the midfield. So yes, but it's a good that's something I think that has bled into the rest of the teams, is that we've had to work really hard to make sure the Europeans are actually being challenged, not necessarily on the saves and like the speed, but just actually getting to the ball. Their coverage, their positioning, their speed, it all works in their favor, and we've had to work really hard to stop that. And in doing so, they've pushed the level of the teams and players up, just inherently. It's just occurred. So yes, you're right. That's a very good point. But I think the Europeans are the best region in the world at controlling the midfield.
Leoro's in chat from the Maestros, and his observation is that there's been a lot of improvement amongst SSA teams this season. So that's at least encouraging to hear from our biggest current foe. And then a series I'm glad I didn't cast, Maestros versus Ball Eater. That was kind of, it's one of those series that's hard to cast because it's just it's a takedown. But then the Limitless Hey Riz game was fantastic. Probably the series of the weekend. It was incredibly hard fought, very close, very tense, and went to a Game 7 overtime. And from a production and casting point of view, it's an absolute gift. So that was very enjoyable, and Limitless took that down. So there was some confidence going into the final, but then Maestros, not as easily as they took down Ball Eaters, but it was a massive struggle for Limitless.
Well, I think of all the teams that Maestros would be looking to beat, they would be best prepared to beat Limitless because, they either mount as the team to beat, and there's the most information available on them. Because they haven't switched rosters for such a long time, there's not too much unknown about them with regards to who the players are and how they like to play the game. So one of the, I would say, victims of their success is possibly the longer you play the game as the same team, the more time teams have to just look at you play. And Mobula last season, Maestros this season, same team, but they had the uppance on them last season. So that sort of result, although it's very disappointing, is also not surprising. And if you had a look at Maestro's run all the way through, they are playing incredibly well. So Maestros is one of the only EU teams, one of the few that are attempting a season 2 here, and I think Astronic is the only other one. I do remember which team was Twinser in? 77 Block.
yeah.
Yeah, 77 blocks. Yeah.
77 Blocks. I thought they were going to do a little bit better than they did.
Mhm.
But credit to Maestros, they played well and they're setting the standard that we must now beat. And I was very interested to see that Cosmic Code took 2 games off Limitless. Historically, most teams have only managed 1. And I think in an opening match in the first regional, I think that's fantastic progress, because obviously I don't want to see a downfall of Limitless, but I would love to see a
An
much
upfall.
more, and an upliftment of the rest, because it
Yeah.
shouldn't be a one-horse race. It
Yeah.
should be a whole bunch of teams competing for that top spot. And I think that would make everybody better, because also one of the first victims of success is, there isn't much need to improve because you're already the best.
Mm.
So I do think that there are so many good things to take out of this. I was hugely impressed, especially in the opening rounds where, as Happy Meal was saying, there was upset after upset, because we've never seen these teams together before. And for teams that have had remarkably little time together, they have put in some very big performances. So my only hope is that these teams stay together for, the rest. We owe it to the region.
And that was a point made by Werty, is that we need teams that stay together long enough to sort of form that deep understanding and can actually go somewhere. So that's a point we highlighted last week, and we highlighted again. Rosters, damn it, stick together. Don't be like that random you teamed up with in ranked and lost the next game and bang, we're out of there. Stick it together. That, I do believe, despite the result and how well Maestros did, with the remaining 2 regionals of this major, I do think there is capacity for a bit of a fight and a tussle, and for a comeback from Limitless and maybe one of the other SSA teams to rise to the occasion. And we hope to see that. Sign-ups for the second open close on Monday, the 27th of January. So that is next Monday. And the last I looked, there were 44 teams that had signed up. I have no doubt that number has jumped up a little since then. If I go and have a quick squiz, it's up to 56. 56 teams have signed up. 129 signed up for this one, but a bunch were removed. We ended up with 125 in the end, but some of those weren't complete, so it was only 113 that actually started. So we're well on our way. I think we can get to a similar number. Let's have a quick, brief tour through the stats. Then we're going to have a chat with one of the Haibo roster that we've been talking about. So if we
I hope Haibo stays together.
I'm pretty sure. Well, we will ask Devour in a moment, but I'm pretty sure they will. So forgive the clumsiness of these graphics, but it was all very last minute thrown together. So we just got some basic top 10 stats from the weekend. And Bromeo, yeah, I mean, you grabbed these quickly, and with the goals, we have not too many SSA players in the top goal scoring stat.
So statistics are a funny thing. They can support whatever argument you want to make as long as you find enough of them. But the common theme will be the better the team does, the better they fare in all of the stat categories. So don't read too deeply into it, because Maestros will obviously take top. They scored a hell of a lot of goals, and they averaged a lot of goals per game. So
I think they had a 10-1 game at some point.
yeah, so to score a goal and a half in every single game you play for Lioro, taking our top spot, that's immense. Given the fact that our closest SSA competitor was Wilu on 1.27, who also had an absolute screamer. Very impressed by the way he is playing currently. And just having a look, Ball Eater led by Jester at 1.15, so he obviously contributed immensely to the way that they played. And I'm just pointing out skill steal here, rounding off the top 10 in 10th position for Haibo, almost averaging a goal a game. And skill playing with Ravi and Devour has been immense. And I really love the synergy in which they play. And for skill to feature in the top 10 here is just a credit to that. In the time that they've spent together, they have done incredibly well in skill leading the charge there.
And I know Skill Still, I mean, when we've chatted to him and talking to him about retirement, which is hilarious, he was basically saying he wants to know how long can he still keep up and be there or thereabouts. And there we go.
I mean, that answers the question.
He's doing very well there. And then moving on to assists, which a little bit more... I was going to say,
a little bit more variety.
But more variety.
Again, yeah, Jester featuring in the top 10 again for Ball Eater gives credit to how he led the charge for Ball Eater. But obviously, Leoro again had an absolute screamer of a weekend, coming in at top at 1.39 assists per game. And that's just slightly less than his goals per game. So that just shows the impact that he had. And Leoro obviously plays very aggressively upfield, so this sort of statistic is not surprising. But a good thing to see, Star for Decimate coming in at third. And I saw him a lot over the weekend. He also had an amazing weekend. He's been playing some really, really good Rocket League, and he wasn't far behind in the level of assists. They didn't get the results they wanted, but... I do think Star is one to watch.
And there will be news about Star coming in the second split, which I think is going to make that even better. I don't know where it stands exactly, so I don't want to leak anything, but there's good news coming with him. And then the final stat will be saves.
So saves is always an interesting one because we always attribute it to a team doing poorly. But Sweaty is consistently up there in the amount of saves, and it's down to how limitless play they game. Either Sweaty, Sweaty is generally the one making the saves, but I think Devour, who we're going to chat about just now, picking up third place in the amount of saves. He was immense. And I think also Ravi coming in at 8th with Cam in 9th. It just shows how many saves were needed to be forced upon these players to keep them in. And Cam averaging almost 2 saves per game over 25 games played is huge, as well as Sweaty playing almost 30 and averaging 2.5 saves a game. So it does give a little bit of an insight as to how each of those teams are playing their game, but it also shows how many shots these guys are fielding on net per game.
I got to say, if you watch the Haibo games, they're defending, and it is no surprise to me to see Devour and Ravi in the top 10. Some of the saves they pulled out were just
incredible.
Were physics defying in a number of cases, and that kept them in the game. It was such a magnificent part of their game. So seeing both
I do just want to add on to that quickly, and this won't even be part of the stats, but how many times Ravi or Devour read the shot and then contested the shot close to the goal line, and that won't even count as a save because they shut down the shot before it happened. But some of those reads were incredible, and I was very impressed watching that. And I think that is very difficult to teach. When you contest that close to the goal line, the communication needs to be really on point to make those saves, because that's where double commits happen. It's peak position, that close to the goal line, and for somebody to turn around after grabbing corner boost, and you're not even back post. And I think it was a Ravi or Devour save, but it was really, really top notch. So yes, I agree with you, Greybeard. Some of the defensive plays coming out of Haibo this weekend were really top notch.
Okay, well, I think that wraps us up with the stats and the breakdown of the Birmingham Open number 1. And quickly before we move off, I don't think it really affects any of us, or any of us care that much. But I don't know what Happy Meal thinks. The announcement of the location of the second major in Raleigh, North Carolina, in the United States. The only thing that I was pleased with, and what Blast are doing right, is we're getting early announcements.
Are you asking me what I feel about the major location?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that we really care about it, but I mean,
No,
obviously, if you're a
it's,
player,
I
you're going to
mean-
make it. It's nice, but
to be honest, I never really thought about it. Like not this major specifically, but like the location of any of the international tournaments. I guess for like me, for any of the South African players, just going to one of them. I mean, even if it was, I assume even if it was in Africa, like just locally, like just that experience would be amazing. So as for it in North Carolina, the problem I have with the US is I mean it's a massive country, and I think
Yes.
like it's such a diverse. It's in terms of its what it offers, like in terms of its I guess landscape, like the kind of people, the culture. It's very diverse. So I don't really know how they make these decisions on what state to put the majors in, and I don't know if any like I know the big esports, like Dota and CS. I'm sure there's a lot of research that goes into where they can make the most money in terms of like central location versus like popular. Like people will come out to watch it because it's in this position. I don't know if Blast and RLCS are. No, I believe that's happening, but I don't know if it's a priority. I think that's something to really like consider. I'm sure they are looking into it. I mean, Blast definitely played like a big. They're not. This is not their first time, but their priority is probably what is affordable, what is accessible. Like how many seats. Because the thing is, like, let's assume we rent out a full stadium, 60,000 seat stadium. I mean, we're gonna have 10th capacity. It's not going to look very good. So we need to really like they need to manage these factors. As for it in North Carolina, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even know what is North Carolina a cool state. I don't know. Texas was
It's a hot one, to be
honest.
honest.
I assume
I'm sure it's really nice at that time of year.
Yeah, I'm sure it's lovely. I agree with that, though, is that it is very difficult to get excited for a major. None of us will probably get the opportunity.
Yeah, it's like it's really awesome. Yeah.
I mean, but to be fair, even if it was in Mozambique, half of us wouldn't go. So
it's true.
I think it's cool that Blast is putting these in more regions than it traditionally used to be, instead of just like hot centers. And you look at this as across codes, you generally put events in places where you want to grow the market, and not necessarily that guarantees the most attendance. And I think it's brave of them putting it in North Carolina, to be honest, because that's not terribly close to anywhere.
Except for South Carolina.
Yeah, no, to be fair.
They do.
I heard Rocket League is very strong in that state.
They do seem to be following the convention of having it one in EU, one in the US, one in EU, one in.
I like that. I like that approach.
Yeah, which does then mean, by a process of elimination, that Worlds should be in Europe. And word on the street is that it'll be in France, which I think is long overdue.
It's the right. I mean, to be honest, if you want, if it's France is the Brazilian fan base, equivalent of CS:GO. So like CS:GO has Brazil, we have France. The issue I know with France as hosting esports tournaments, their tax laws on prize money is a little bit ridiculous. Supposedly, a percentage of the prize money for the entire tournament needs to be allocated to the French government, and that is a very difficult position for us to be in. I think
Wow.
the players are already not satisfied with the amount they're given, and then now we need to risk, well, not risk, but try and justify taking less so we can bring the French people involved. I think it's necessary. I think like we need to have a major there, but I just think there are like complications. If it happens, I mean, I'd be very impressed.
Well, let's see. I mean, that's just word on the street, and the street are often wrong. But let's move forward. We've been waffling along because we've been setting up the next segment, which is basically we're going to have a word with Devour. Haibo, Devour. Hello, young man. How are you?
I'm good, and you? Thank you.
We're good. So,
Ooh, hold on quickly. Sorry. Devour in VOD Ninja. Can you just mute your mic there, please?
I can mute him. It's fine. I've muted him.
Yep.
It's all good.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So, I guess the first question is, tell me, what were you guys expecting going into Friday night, and how you felt about where you ended up?
Honestly, when we were going into Friday, like we already knew that we had like beat our expectations and like what a lot of people where they thought we would like end up. So all that we did was basically try to see how far can we get, and yeah, that's basically it because we had already gone past our expectations. So we just played our best, gave it our all, and just saw how far we could go.
Did you feel pressure? I mean, because you were playing big games and they were big, you guys were on stream and there was a lot going on. Was it just a case of just playing and having fun, or were you feeling under pressure?
Well, of course, because it was like top 16, there was a bit of pressure, but honestly, I don't think we felt that much pressure. We just played bad on the day a bit, but not really that much pressure. Just yeah.
All right, I'm going to open it up to the panel. Go.
Well, my first, comment is well done. I've been having a look at the stats, and Haibo performed really, really well over the weekend. And how do you guys feel? Like, what were your expectations from the split? And it's very easy to talk. Looking back at things, you guys were aiming for a top 8. Were you aiming for a top 12? Were you aiming for a Sunday? What were your guys' goals heading into this? Because you guys are a brand new team, so I'm assuming your goals in all of this must have been pretty modest.
Well, at first our goals were to just make top 32. I mean, we weren't really going for too much or going overboard, but as we got into it and as we made Swiss, then our confidence started picking up and realized that we can compete with some of the teams here. But we didn't have too much expectations going in. But yeah.
I've got another quick follow up one. We were talking on air just before you arrived about your defense against some of the bigger teams this weekend, and Greybeard was saying your defense was insane. So take us through that quickly. Like, how were the comms? Because we saw some incredible plays, and that had to be down to either you guys are psychic, or the comms were just on point.
Well, our defense was like it was a bit shambles. I mean, most of our good plays were off of like saves and like double saves, but there was a bit of like panic jumps here and there, double commits, which did lead to our goals. But most of the plays were just either Ravi, Skill, or I just making a top-notch save and then trying to just get it out.
Fair enough.
But the comms
I
were a
think
bit nervous, like
nervous
shaky.
times. Well, it does get quite intense when you're actually on the field there. I want to know, do you guys plan to stay as the same team throughout the whole season, or is there any other ideas that you guys may have in the future?
Yes, that is the goal, to like stay together for all the regionals, just like build chemistry, because I feel like we can go pretty far as a team. And yeah, gonna stay together for all the regionals. Don't know about during the off season and off season tournaments, but I'm assuming the goal is to stay together.
Oh, that
That's
is really, really good news. And my next question is to Greybeard. How is that salad? It looks delicious.
It's not a salad, it's green beans, and it's fantastic. I'm at the
So
end of
this is
I'm
Devour's
at the
time
end
now,
of a
Chris.
1-year journey to sort of get my eating right. I have never eaten vegetables in my life. I discovered this January that vegetables are delicious. Anyway, that's a whole
So
other matter. Now, Devour.
So Devour,
Oh,
hold on.
sorry, go ahead, Sean.
One more question.
he's
Now
got
I've lost
another
my
one.
train of
It's
thought.
going to be a zinger.
Oh,
Not putting
so
words.
now with your guys' unexpected performance that happened this weekend past, what are your guys' possible expectations, or what are you guys shooting for next regional?
For next regional, I think we're gonna go again for top 16, and once or if we make top 16, then we're just gonna carry on doing our best from there. See if we can maybe get a top 8 in there. But overall goal is to just do the best that we can. So
Devour.
I know it's been covered as well, and I'm not sure if this is relating at all to what Greybeard is going to be asking right now. But what's it been like? And you've got a very seasoned campaigner in Skill Steel. What was it like over the weekend, being able to be with somebody who's been at the top, next to you on the field and taking you through it? Was he a calming presence, or were you calming him? Because apparently in chat, apparently you're cooler than a cucumber.
yes, I am. But over the days that I'm both Raven, I could clearly see that like he didn't really feel any pressure going in, and he was like a lot calmer than us, like taking his shots, making his saves. And yeah, he passed on a lot of tips to us for like rotates and boost management and all that. So we're just trying to get as like big of a learning experience, like coming down from him.
Devour, I saw you at Comic Con, and I guess something that's different with you and Ravi is you've gotten to experience a land fairly early on in your career, because there haven't been a lot of lands in SSA for a long time, but I saw you there. You were playing with Synthesis, you and Ravi together with Defunct, and I mean, you did okay. I think, did you beat Cosmico? I can't remember if you beat Cosmico or if no, you took 1 or 2 games off them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and anyway, you guys lost 2 games, I think, and then or 2 series. You were eliminated, and you were very, very upset, and understandably so. How do you feel you have evolved as a player since then? Because to me, what I saw there was someone getting started, and I was so delighted at the fact that you were so upset, because it showed to me, it was clearly you cared about it, you wanted to do well, and you were really upset that you hadn't done better. And if you were to go back to land today, would you go back as a different person, a different player?
I think I would go back as a different person because it's first time at LAN. Obviously, it's like a lot of nerves in front of the crowd and all that. But I think if I were to go back, it would be slightly better because like since then, like the hunger to strive and do well in competitions has grown. So would definitely aim to go back stronger.
And then your mom was there. I got to meet her and talk to her, and on that first day, she knew nothing from nothing about Rocket League, Schmocket League, whatever. She was just your chaperone for the thing. But by the end, it was a delight to see her in the crowd cheering your successes, cheering when you scored. Have you made a believer out of your mom?
Yeah. She now like listens to RLCS and all that, and she's just like, do your best. So
That is fantastic. That's just great to see, and I have to say I'm delighted to see the support you get from your parents. And I know your dad is watching, and I'm sure he's having a very proud moment, and that's fantastic. But Devour, my last question is: do you, because I've definitely hyped up you and Ravi quite a bit, and then certainly Haibo and what you've done, and you're without a question my favorite roster in the whole of the RLCS right now.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Without a second. The moment I saw this roster, I was like, nope, this is Greybeard written all over it.
Does that hyping up put you under pressure? Is it something that helps to motivate you along, or because that's my concern is when I go on and on about it that I'm putting the two of you and the team under unnecessary pressure. So I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, it can go like both ways because, of course, a lot of people have expectations for us to do well as like up and coming players and to get a lot of experience. But then there's also a positive side where we know that a lot of people in the region like support our team and want our team to strive and achieve. So it goes a bit of both ways. So it adds some confidence, but then like also put some pressure on.
Fair enough. And then Happy Meal, I know you're not on camera, but you are here. I don't know if you got a question before we let Devour go.
I do. So Devour, how old are you? If you don't mind me asking, that's not my question, but it.
I turned 14 about 2 months ago.
Okay. So you're in high school now, right?
Yep.
Like okay. So my question is this like, you obviously, people as a young player in the game, it's very positive for you and for the scene, and people look at you as like, there's lots of talent and potential, and Graybeard just spoke on that. How do you navigate dealing with that and something like school? And how do you feel like you have to, how does the game in your mind compare to something, such as school? And what do you think about after school? I mean, how long do you think you can play Rocket League for realistically? I'm not talking about as a person. I mean, that's something. However, you could play as long as you wanted to. But I mean, like after school, right? Could you feasibly just stop playing because you don't care about the game anymore, or would you explore playing professionally afterwards as well?
I think once I get out of school, then I think my like need to play Rocket League would slowly go down because I've obviously want to go study and schoolwork and all that. And I mainly play during my free time when I don't have sports or homework. So of course I'm gonna grind as much as I possibly can when I get the time. But after school, I don't see much of a career for me in Rocket League unless I like really develop over the years and then like I can find some
Okay.
space here and there.
I have a follow-up question, if you don't mind. So,
Yeah.
what sports outside of Rocket League do you play? Like, it doesn't be specific. I'm trying to understand. Rocket League to you clearly is something you enjoy, and it's maybe perhaps fun, but you say you play sports. I mean, you take that. So you prioritize this, obviously academics first. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not an option. That's non-negotiable. School first. But outside of that, like now we're talking about your time that is expendable. The sports you play. Surely Rocket League falls into the category of that could actually just be instead of sports you're playing Rocket League. I mean, what is that? What is your perception of something like that? Is it just a game to you, or is it worth putting more time towards it? Because you say at the end you might you might want to, like, it depends how good you get, and then you'll make a decision. But I mean, theoretically, you can make the decision now that you will get good, and by the time you're finished, you don't need to make that. Like, you're already good enough, and you can continue.
Yeah, well, I would want to rather prioritize my studies over Rocket League
Yeah,
because
of course.
on studies there's like more of a guideline in where I could go into my career and everything instead of Rocket League. But yeah, also with the sports, I play hockey, rugby, and cricket. So during the week, so whenever I find time during that, like over the weekend when I don't have like projects or tours, then I love to play Rocket League. So
You're saying all of
yeah.
those sports all at the same time?
No,
No, it would
cricket's a
Seasonal.
summer sport, so he
different.
just thinks hockey and rugby.
It's on a rotation, yeah.
You could have been just like, yes, but I've got a final question, and I promise this will be the last I grill you on it. But we're talking about homework and studying and stuff like that. But when it comes to Rocket League, is there any studying that you put in? And if there is, what sort of studying is it? Do you look at incoming teams' replays, or do you just vibe?
Um, a lot of the time we do just vibe, but usually before we play a team in like RLCS, we like to talk about how they play and like what strategies they use to play so that we can like counter it to the best of our abilities.
Fair enough, Greybeard. It's all yours now.
In closing, I understand what Happy Meal's saying, and Devour, I understand what you're saying, but I just want to say that yes, education is important, but Rocket League is important. So
It is
Okay.
important.
Okay, great. He can also semi-retire like Happy Meal, apparently.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. All right, and a great question that has. Oh well, hold on. I just saw it. It was you responding to someone in chat. Devour's multitasking. He's answering chat and talking to us. This is unbelievable. Content creation. Are you going to do? I see you are a regular streamer, which is exciting. Is that something you enjoy? Will you likely do more content around your progress as a pro Rocket League player?
My desire for content is like really on and off, on and off. Like
Mm.
occasionally I'd like to do a stream on Twitch, but most of the time I'm just grinding ranked, not really on the content side.
Okay. Well, hopefully I can support and
were
help and
doing so
encourage you
well.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah, you make a Greybeard so proud. And then
You were doing so well.
You came so close to full marks.
uh,
All right. Well, Ravi, Devour, it's been a delight to have you. Thank you for coming.
They're already forgotten.
Yeah,
same
and
one.
know that the sort of thing that you and Ravi are doing, along with Skill Steel, and then also others like T Shao and Eagle, Willant, gives me a lot of hope for the future of Rocket League in the region. So carry on and don't feel too pressured by whatever the hyping up is. Go out there and have fun. And I think if you are able to approach it as you approach this last regional with just let's go out there and do the best we can, I think there's a lot of success to be had. But great stuff. Congratulations, and really looking forward to seeing you more in the future.
Ooh. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
An absolute
man.
pleasure, Devour. Congrats. Well done, man. Alrighty, so that was Devour. That was delightful, and it is crazy. He turned 14 a couple of months ago, and I mean, if you look at the length of a Rocket League career, which there is this idea that it is for young people, but in the next 2 to 3 years, by the time he's 17, 18, there's massive potential. If the desire stays there, and Happy Meal, I think the question you asked is, or the question what you're alluding to is important, because the great thing about being 14 is you have a huge amount of energy and enthusiasm for the things that you enjoy and want to do, but that enthusiasm can turn on a dime. You know, it's all Rocket League all the time today, and then tomorrow it's, hey, there's something I'd rather be doing. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I think he wants to keep his doors open, many doors open for whatever he wants to do in the future.
Yeah,
which is really cool to see.
Absolutely, fair enough. And clearly prioritizing his schoolwork, which is valid and important. Devour. Okay, we will see him and Haibo back in action during the qualifying weekend on the 1st and 2nd of February, so in a couple of weeks' time. So we look forward to that. And then I've got a segment here that I'm calling Punching Down, and it stems from hostilities that were well underway in the Twitch chat over the weekend of the RLCS broadcast. A lot of EU viewers, and I have to acknowledge that, you know, I think we peaked at about 900 viewers, and we get a healthy amount of viewers.
If y'all don't follow Greybeard, you need to get in there.
All right, that was my follow. Thank you for the follow. Welcome aboard. We get a healthy number of EU viewers because there are EU players playing here. So that has been one benefit of having other regions here, is that they do bring their fan base. That brings a lot of eyes and interest to the region. But inevitably, there's the Twitch chat devolves into a bit of a mess. And I made the comment that if you're coming, as with the players, you're coming into our region, you're coming into our house, and we do welcome you now, reluctantly, and we'd like to see a lot more 1/3, 2/3 teams. We'd like to see you doing a lot more, but we don't expect it of you. But we do expect the viewers and the players to treat the region and its people with some respect, even when the region itself might be a little bit off color, might be a little bit angry, might be a little frustrated. Because understand, it is frustrating. It is painful to watch the people we love and we cheer and who we want to succeed. It's painful to see these results, to see the bubble teams from EU coming here and making our very best players sweat. It's hard and it's frustrating, and we know and understand we've got a long way to go. So it doesn't help if you come here and punch down. And what we mean by that is you're bigger, you're taller, you're the stronger region. And when you come in here and smash down on us, it's easy. It's like me taking on a karate class of 8-year-olds. I'm going to smash all of them. I'm going to be a karate champion inside that class. But if I'm so my earnest plea and request to you is not to do that. Come in here and be encouraging, and maybe even look to give a hand up. How can you help lift this region? Because understand, strong regions, if all 6 regions around the world were strong and doing well, that is good for Rocket League globally. So take us along on a journey with you and help us to be better. And that's all I'm going to go there in terms of my lecture there. But it is worth reminding, and I'd like to get your feedback on this, Happy Meal. I'm trying to build a database of things we should be doing for the region to improve, not just the top layer of people at the top RLCS competitive level, but in terms of building the player base and helping funnel that player base towards competitive. And this is just a reminder because we've covered it every week. So the things that are helpful are sponsored and community events, 6-mans, import scrims, and then 1/3 and 2/3 teams. And I would love to see European players connecting up with our local players and finding 1 or 2 other SSA players that you can team with, without the expectation that you're looking for a team that's going to make top 8, top 4, or top 2, but rather let's go as far as we can. Like Haibo have done, let's team up and do the best we can and have a lot of fun along the way. And if you're bringing your expertise, so I'd like to appeal to any EU people who want to do that I think it would be a huge help in growing the scene locally. And then obviously we need very good local tournaments. We need excellent high school Rocket League. We need our communities to grow. We need good coaching. And of course we need orgs involved. And we also need to reach the player base. So if you scan over that list, Happy Meal, I don't know if you have anything that would be worth adding to that, or any response to that.
Firstly, I just want to apologize for my camera. Sorry
No
about
worries.
that. I don't think I'll be able to fix it before the end of the podcast. But what I will say is, I think, trying to give you like a specific piece of it, to add on to this list is hard, because I think you've covered almost everything. I will highlight the connection between everything that's going on here is the resources, and that I think is the most significant factor, because the real problem comes down to, like, we don't have enough players. We simply don't have enough players.
Yep.
Theoretically, if we had, if we double the player base, tomorrow, with very, very shortly, we'd have like an injection of talent that would be unprecedented, right? That was evident even when the import teams came over, because they added more competition. Just the bottom line, like, that is what that happened. It's evident that it worked. So that's the problem, right? Like, we don't have enough players. That is a very abstract, very complicated, and that that's one thing to look at the problem. What is the solution? So there are many ways to do this. Grassroots, like a lot of these are grassroots level stuff. So let's say high school Rocket League, local tournaments, 6-mans. That's grassroots stuff. Building from the beginning, like from like the start, the foundation. What I believe lacks here is the resources to motivate people to give it a shot, and I think that's the biggest problem. So it's one thing to look at the game and say, well, I really want to do well in the game, but it's another thing to say, this game might not be I might not want to do for the rest of my life, but I'm actually pretty good at it right now, and if some money involved, I'll just keep playing. Just that commitment, even if it's a little bit, it adds to the overall player base. If you look at Europe and America, the much more established regions, there's more incentive for people who are, much worse to compete. RLCS isn't their only tournament; it's just their big one. It's that's where you go when you really want to try. Like anyone can apply for, like anyone can go and play for it. It's open qualifiers, which is a great format. But realistically, the teams who do compete, like the C3s, they're not really there to look to win. They're just there to play. But there are other tournaments that exist that give them hope and motivation towards actually going and playing. It's a start. Here, I feel like in South Africa, the jump from casual to competitive is so steep, and it's a huge time commitment in it and a massive risk. I think that most people, because what ends up happening is these players, they don't have anything in between, so they either go play RLCS or like the massive tournaments that all the other teams are playing because we don't have much anyway. And these players, these teams that are like a kind of casual, but they're willing to step into the unknown and maybe see how they like the competitive scene. They step into it and immediately they're overwhelmed with the sheer difficulty of competing, and then immediately just takes them out. They're like, well, look, I don't really care anymore. I'd like to just keep playing for fun. I had a lot of my friends who actually like competed for RLCS and some of the local VS tournaments, and they played for maybe one leg or one regional, and then they didn't do it again. They did not do it again because the difference between where they were and where they had to be to even have fun there was very far away. I think the way to fix that is with resources, more tournaments, more like events prioritizing the players who are not at like the grassroots level. So yeah, resources. That's the thing. That's the connection here is the resources, and that includes money, but it's more than that.
No, but I do think that's kind of what I'm envisioning in the great local tournaments, high school Rocket League, and communities, because there's a huge gap between the top of the game and the casual base. There is very little for them to do other than, oh great, I'm going to go and get smashed by a top team. So things that can happen there and grow it in the middle. Absolutely correct. Now, I have an announcement regarding after my watch party on Friday night of the GSL bracket, I got notified by Blast that my channel now has drops. So when I do RLCS watch parties, you will get drops just for watching. And in fact, they were live for my last stream last Friday night. I didn't even know it was happening. But if you were watching on Friday night, you probably got a drop or two. So I'm pretty pumped about that. That's the first time I've gotten anything like that. So make sure you come and watch during the next stream. And then Six Mans has an announcement. Yoshi asked me to post this. Six Mans needs testers. They need testers to balance changes and for new system integration. And who can be a tester? Anyone from rank C to rank S. You can't be a tester if you have no role. People who are willing to be there anytime we need them for something. So there we go. That's vague and overburdensome. But if you want to be a tester for Six Mans, get in touch with Yoshi or Arid on Discord. And then 1v1 show matches sponsored by Virtuoso. In fact, he's given enough money now for another 6 show match evenings every Wednesday night. This coming Wednesday will be Eagle versus Lamuk and Jeff versus Nitro this Wednesday right here on this channel. And then birthdays. We have birthdays as our last item. And the first one you see there is a Clever Rabbit who's been with Monarch, with Dynasty, been around and active in the community. And sorry, I'm trying desperately to find out where I put my effects. And there it is. Happy birthday. He's 26 years old. Tomorrow is a Clever Rabbit. And of course, it's not working, and that's going to make me very sad. So never mind. I'm going to have to
just sort of,
No, I'm going to have to. I need to. No. I'm gonna need to just trigger this manually because it's important to me that I do this part at least right. So I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna say, "Hey, a Clever Rabbit, happy birthday!" And then next up is Grape. Now, Grape, I don't know if anybody even knows Grape. I don't think he's
I
competed
remember
in
Grape.
RLCS since the first season, and I haven't seen him around. I hope he's still somewhere playing Rocket League, but on the 14th of January, he turned 23. So, Grape, wherever you are, happy birthday! And then someone who's not in SSA but is kind of involved is Resist Jaguar. He's a coach. He's, I think, with RSC and the European Rocket Series, and wanting very much to sort of help SSA. So we'll give him a shout out. On the 15th, he turned 23. So happy birthday, Resist Jaguar! And then there are two birthdays today that have nothing to do with SSA, but I just thought it was hilarious when I was checking this out. And that is, they were born on the same day, on the same year. They're both from North America. Today is the birthday of Bumpin' and Demo. Oh, that tickles the dad in me. So wherever they are and whatever they're doing, happy birthday to you guys. And I think, gentlemen, that about wraps it all up, if I am not mistaken. Indeed, it does. And this has been another episode of Just Saying. It's going to be relatively quiet for the next week until signups close for the next Open, and then it's right back into the chaos of the qualifiers on the 1st and 2nd of February. Which I will be streaming and watch partying, of course. We got the 1v1 show matches. And sometime either next week, the week after, sometime in the next few weeks, we're going to have VS on the podcast for announcements about what that season's going to look like and how that's all going to roll out, which is really important and is going to go some way, Happy Meal, to filling out that middle section, because there is going to be some attention to some opportunities for that middle bit. So I think you'll be happy to know that. I thought he might say.
I was like, his mic's broken now.
No. It's positive. Yeah. I mean, we're building. It is happening. It's just highlighting the emphasis just means that when new opportunities arise, like
Yes.
when organizations and resources are put in, if we're always highlighting what the community needs, those who are able to put the resources in don't have to question where it goes. They know. They know that the community wants this, and if they consciously choose that, like against that, that's something they're that's a decision they're making willingly. So yeah, the highlighting is important. But yeah, no, we are growing. It is happening. I mean, it has to. Like the fact that RLCS is here and it's staying, even though there are some, like its sustainability has been questioned. I personally believe the model that Epic Games is on currently is the model that is sustainable. That's why it's so significantly different to what we were running like almost 2 years ago. But the sustainability is their concern, and that's why they've made such drastic changes. So I believe it's here to stay, and probably for a while. And that means it would be, maybe a little bit foolish not to take a risk, even though there might not be the players or the sheer numbers. I mean, the money's there.
Yeah.
So.
And also, let's not forget, despite and if you're a regular on Twitter, you will know without any shadow of a doubt and with great certainty that Rocket League is going to die and die imminently.
Death.
It's
finished.
It's crazy. Yet record signups for this season of RLCS across the globe. Record signups. Most of those are EU, and EU is going to every region in the world. But still, the player interest is there. We're seeing the signups, so that is a good thing. And that is going to wrap it up from us. Happy Meal, we've struggled to get you here. We had half of you here tonight, and we are very grateful for it.
I'm so sorry. I feel so bad. I feel so bad. I don't even know what the problem is, to be honest. But if I get, if I have the opportunity to come back, I'll make sure I'm prepared better. And I just thank you for having me. It's always nice to talk about the game.
I think next time we have you, we can get the video, but then not the audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
If y'all don't follow
cameras,
Graybeard, you need to get in there.
But I do want to end on a motivational quote, because I was reading this and I was thinking, shit, Graybeard would love this. And the quote goes as this: whatever you're doing, always give it 100%, unless you're donating blood.
Huge, Bromeo, huge.
I know,
And-
right? I thought it was deep.
I feel so motivated right now.
Oh, so motivated.
I do have to give one quick shout out because I see Asterix has just followed the channel. So Asterix, welcome aboard. Thank you for following. But Asterix is a coach out in North America, and he has picked up Ox Gaming, which are one of the teams I was very impressed with their improvement, and they're absolutely a team I can see making it into the top 16. And so he's taken over the coaching role there, so which is huge, and that's exactly the sort of hand up the support that I would like to champion. So thank you, Asterix, for being there. But that's going to wrap it up from us. Me, Greybeard, the Bromeo, S Falcon, and Happy Meal. Peace. We're out.